be right. It might be that Pep goes and looks now and says, I'll use a false 9 if Haaland does get injured. But for me, I would at least go and try. Now, people might laugh at this. I think it's mad and he would never, ever go there because he'd be behind Haaland. But are you telling me that Ivan Toney wouldn't be a good signing for Manchester City? Because I think he would.
No.
I think he would.
Bro. I don't want him.
Why don't you want him? What, you don't want him? You'd rather have Oscar Bob behind Haaland?
Bro, he's not going to play. You think Ivan Toney is a good player to have who's just going to sit on the bench? Because he'll just
a bloody good one to have. Bloody good one to have.
Nah, not for me. I don't think he's the type of player that you want to just have sat on the bench. I
hope you don't get him. I hope you don't get him. I hope you use Oscar Bob all season or whatever the other lad you said, Kati or whatever his name was. I'd rather him go for them two. But I wouldn't want Ivan Toney sitting on the bench at City. Christ, he'd have got him to bring on it potentially.
Yeah, no, listen, I would if we get someone, I'd like us to get an attacking midfielder. I don't think you can get a striker because they're not going to play, and if they're not going to play, they're not going to be happy. Ivan Toney's not going to be happy sitting on the bench week in, week out, because that's what would happen to him. Because that's what happened to Haaland, and also Toney can't play in the midfield, which Haaland could to a certain level. So you get even less games.
Do you think you're weak? Do you think you're weaker though now?
Of course, we're weaker. We're weaker last year. Weaker this year. We try to make it easy, bro, but you keep on bottling it every year. It's not our fault. You know what I mean?
So that's what I'm getting at. You're not weak. You're weaker than you were last season, right? So,
KJ, clip it up. Dan Pot said City are weak. KJ, clip it up. Dan Pot said City are weak.
I would say you are weaker in that department now. So I can understand why Man City are going, what next? What are we doing? And if the answer is, what was his name? McAtee and Oscar Bob is the answer to replace Julian Alvarez. I can see why some Man City fans might go. I can also see why Man City fans might think Pep will probably get the best out of him and Oscar Bob will go and have player of the season because that's what Pep does. But that's what I'll be doing, man. I'll be wanting to go and get a replacement for him. With £90 million, you're just going to sit there and keep that then? Or is that going to go somewhere else? I mean, are you going to get anyone else with that money or what?
Bro, we ain't signing no one, bro. That's it. We're done. Transfer window over.
So, I mean, genuine question about that. I mean, you've obviously put Savio in. If you sign no one else from this point, do you think that's going to damage your season?
If Rodri stays fit, no, we'll win the league. If Rodri gets injured, we struggle. We'll struggle. Because we have no one to replace him, man. This is why, like, for me, we've got to get a DM. We've got to get CDM, someone that can play there. Like, Rodri, I don't know if you've seen it, Potsy, but like when we played against Real Madrid in the second leg, that guy was dead. When we played against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final, dead. Like the guy's just, you know how many games this guy's played.
Also, unreal. The FA Cup final dunked on by an 18-year-old. We all saw it. I agree with you, bruv. We all saw it.
It's horrendous. But the point is, this guy needs support. He's actually actively. Have you ever heard another player basically asking the club to sign a player? He's actively saying that. He's saying, yeah, we need support. I need rest. I.e., he needs to sign someone.
Why do you think you're not that active in the market? You bought one of your own players to your club, essentially. You've not bought anybody externally from the City group. Why? There's so many theories and so many conspiracy theories as well.
I don't know.
But what are you guys hearing like in the Man City press?
We're being told that until Kovacic or Nunes leaves, we can't sign anyone. Because we've already got Rodri, Kovacic, these are all midfielders. Rodri, Kovacic, Nunes, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, Bernardo Silva. And then, of course, you've still got your Bob and your James McAtee. So we're being told it's like a one out, one in policy. So we have to let Nunes go, but there's been no interest, really. There's a couple of like rumours saying the Saudis are interested in Matheus Nunes, but I've not heard anything serious. And then Kovacic, there was a rumour saying he might go Turkey, but I don't think Pep wants to lose Kovacic. Kovacic is a great player to have around the squad, man. You know, this guy's been there and done it. So I don't think we are. I think we're going to wing it again with like maybe Kovacic playing CDM, but I'm not a massive fan of him playing there. I think he's better further up the pitch. And then obviously the young kid, Nico O'Reilly, which most people have never heard of, but he's a City Academy graduate, been at the club since, 6-7 years old. And in the pre-season, he's been playing slightly deeper. And Pep said in the press conference that he's going to trust Nico to play that CDM. So, I mean, if it comes off, fair play. You've just saved anywhere between 50 and 100 million pounds in the CDM position. and maybe another 50. You're saving 150 million quid if you win in the league. But if you don't, people are going to look at it and go, was you not a little bit naive, maybe a little bit arrogant not to go and buy a new CDM? So we'll see, man. If Rodri stays fit, we'll be fine. I think we'll win the league again. But that guy gets injured. I think he's the most important player to any team in world football.
Agreed.
Do you know what I mean? I think if you take him out of our side, we are massively, massively weaker. He got suspended last year. We lost all 3 games he was suspended for.
Yep.
I genuinely believe that he's the most important player to a system in world football. Without him, we just play so different. And yeah, I think he's that unreal top player.
They need one, man. They need a CDM so bad. It's crazy. And they've needed one for ages. They've tried Kovacic, Calvin Phillips. They've tried Mateus Nunes, which was a waste, in my opinion. I don't know who's out there. That's the thing. I don't know who's out there, but I imagine they'll go and get somebody.
Oh, there's so many players out there. Bruno was there. Kimmich is available. What's he called? João Neves was available.
Now, they're both staying now, aren't they?
João Neves wasn't. He's gone PSG.
Yeah, but he's not a DM, is he? He's more of an 8, isn't he?
No. He's a DM. I watched him last year as a DM. I've seen him play lone 6. I've seen him play lone 6 for Benfica in Europa League. I did a watch along. That Varela guy. Remember Potsy Zubomendi. You're not asking for someone necessarily to play every game. It's can you do a job, or can you play in a double pivot? So then, if you're playing a double pivot with Rodri, I'm not being funny.
Yeah,
it's one of the easiest midfield roles to play.
I think it's interesting as well. You guys would Lavia right now, getting rid of him now a couple of years ago, it almost feels like a bit of a mistake now. You know, with some of the dead midfielders you've brought in instead, should have just given him those opportunities. And maybe that's the answer now, though. Instead of Man United fans want a new left back. We've got Harry Amas. And I know some people live in standard FC world where, no, you've got to go and buy the best available in the world right now. But that's not always possible because you create the same situation City have just had with Julian Alvarez. Surely City have got, and I think you may have mentioned some names already, you've got a brilliant academy. That's where maybe the players have got to come from, because academy players, typically speaking, are happy to be bit part players to begin with, as opposed to demanding starting 30, 40 games a season. So maybe that's the way forward for City, actually, is to, instead of buying some people that maybe have, because Zubimendi is going to want to come in and play regular first team football, as an example. Frankie de Jong is going to want to play regular first team football. An academy player or two, just to have, and you guys win most of your games before the last 20 minutes. So just keep taking Rodri off, 20 minutes to go, bringing on the jumps and developing them.
And that's absolutely spot on. And I've said this in the past. I've said we need to basically have a policy where if we're 2-3-0 up, you've got to get Rodri on. I went through the list. I went on Transfermarkt and looked at all our fixtures from last year in the Premier League. And there were some games we won 3 or 4-0, and you paid 90 minutes. And it's that can't happen, especially if you don't buy a DM. If you're 2-0 up at home or 3-0 up away, maybe if you're away, you need a third goal or whatever. You've got to get him off. And by the way, that's not just for City. Arsenal should be doing this with the likes of Saka, Declan Rice, maybe Saliba, Liverpool with Salah, Van Dijk, Trent. So, I don't know, man. Sometimes football seems bare simple, isn't it? I'm sitting here going,
no,
we should do this and this, and why not just doing this? But then I'm sure there's a reason behind. I swear, if you spoke to Pep and you said why do you do this? I'm sure he'd come up with a pretty reasonable.
But this is just it. See, I don't think there's anything wrong with fans challenging things they don't understand in the forums that we do it in. But it's about being open-minded and level-headed. And when you find out, you might moan today, but then in 6 months, in a year, it all makes sense. And you go, I was wrong. I understand now. And what that will typically do is it enables you to not be frustrated if it happens again in the future, because you've gained an understanding. My problem is with fans or any walk of life is where people moan about a process behind something, but then when they're explained the truth, they still whinge and moan about it. If that one thing, I when I worked in the banking industry, the layman in me at the beginning was, hang on, why do we give people with worse credit ratings higher interest rates on loans compared to better credit rate? Someone with a better credit rating who's more likely to pay gets a lower interest rate. And my logic was, the higher the interest rate, the higher the repayments, the more chance there is of that person with poorer credit defaulting. It doesn't make sense to do it that way around. And then customers always would moan about this. And then we had it explained to us. We used to be able to send up questions down the line and you'd get responses back. And essentially banks do that because they have to insure all the money they lend out. And based on the bracket of lending that it's in, the more high risk, the higher the insurance is. The higher the insurance, the higher essentially the premiums we charge people via interest. And then I was like, well, that actually makes sense now. I get now why better credit. And you explain it to customers. Some would go, oh, that makes sense and be okay. Others will just keep moaning. And it's like, we've given you the logic. We've given you the understanding. Why are you still fucking moaning? And that was always my issue. And I see that in football now. That sort of, you said earlier, like deadheads. And I think it's similar in that regard. You have to be open-minded for what the answer actually is. There's something going on at City as to why you're not buying anybody. And it could just be that there is complete faith in a youngster and your club don't want to put pressure on him. Because that's actually a sensible thing to do. If Pep comes out and said, we don't need to buy someone else because X, Y, and Z are going to be superstars, you know the whole world of rivals are going to be on that player, judging every mistake, every mishap. Sometimes it's easier to say nothing, create less pressure to enable somebody to thrive. So, yeah, look, it's certainly interesting what's going on at City right now. Got some super chats. First.